Hey guys, it is MissSimReno. If you are returning to the channel, welcome back. And if you're brand new, I am so excited that you decided to join me here today for another speed build, and buckle up because it's gonna be a long one. I think this one is over 30 minutes, and you know what? That is because this house is freaking huge. All right, it just is. It's a really big house. This is a 6-bedroom. Wait, is that correct? There's 2 bedrooms on the first floor, and then there's 3 or 4. Are there 4 bedrooms upstairs? No, maybe it's a 5-bedroom. All I'm trying to tell you is that there's a lot of bedrooms, okay? This is built for a family of 8 Sims. So this is, or it could be, I should say, a generations family home. That's kind of how I designed it. So I have a grandparents' bedroom downstairs, a teen room downstairs. There's another teen room upstairs, the parents' room, and a toddler room. So there are 8 Sims in this household. You could, of course, go ahead and do whatever you would like with this house. You can add more bedrooms. You can get rid of a bedroom. You can add an additional office, though there is an office space. Yeah, there's an office space upstairs actually, because I realized that I was building too many bedrooms for too many Sims. Like, you can't fit that many Sims that I was building for in this house, or even in a household in The Sims 4, because you're maxed out at 8 Sims. So anyway, it's a really big house, and I am building on this lot in Sequoia. It's a very weird size. I don't think we have any other lots this size. I want to say it's a 20 by 50 or like a 50 by 20 or something. It's a weird size. It's not a 40 by 30. It's not even a 50 by 40. It's not a 30 by 20. It's a very long lot, but it doesn't have a lot of depth to it. Like, I don't know, you can't go very far back. So the house is wide compared to deep. I don't know how to describe this, okay? All I know is it was a struggle to even build on this lot, but I was determined to do it because it was such a weird shape, and I wanted to see what I could come up with, and the house ended up being freaking huge for me. Like, this is a really big house for me. If you guys did not know, I don't build a ton of huge houses. I try to build things that are, I don't know, for The Sims, like as far as The Sims is concerned, I try to build things that are like medium-sized. Sometimes I build smaller homes, and then there's of course apartments, which are all for the most part huge. But I don't typically build houses this big, though I did recently make one in Sequoia as well. That was, I think, like a 4 or 5 bedroom. I think I called it a generations family home as well. And it was built down by like kind of more the town center, kind of near the water. I don't know. This one is called, this is like Celebration Way, like 18 Celebration Way, I think is the lot name. I can't really recall, but it is in the top left-hand side of the screen if you're curious, because I did not change the lot name until I had saved this to my own library and when I upload it to the gallery. But the shape of the house is pretty much coming together at this point. I really liked the shape of this house, and I was working off a reference image, which I think I still have, and if I do, I will put it on screen for you now. But I made some customizations to it, of course, because you do have to kind of make adjustments when you build things in The Sims, just due to the proportions being a little bit funky. But I had a lot of fun with the roofing, and I don't like roofing in The Sims. It's like my least favorite part of builds, to be completely honest with you. I think it's my least favorite aside from floor planning, because I just feel like I suck at both of them. But the roofing was super fun in this one, and I thought it was a little bit different than a lot of the roofing that I've done. I don't know, like, I feel like my roofing is kind of standard because a lot of the shapes of my homes are pretty standard, but this one just felt a little bit more complex, a little bit outside of my scope, if you will, and I just really liked how it came out. I loved the color scheme I went for. I did use this base game siding instead of the ones, or one of the ones that came with Growing Together. I really liked this green. I thought it was softer and, well, actually not as soft as the green that we had as a siding from this pack. That one was a little bit too soft. I wanted something a bit more saturated, but not deep and bold like the dark blue we got from this pack, as an example. But I just really liked the house. I thought it looked really nice. I loved using these flower boxes from Discover University. And then you may notice I flipped the house. So this, the way that the house is situated currently, is actually the back of the lot, but I did it for the lighting so I could take screenshots and just kind of see how everything looked, because when it was flipped around the other way and I made the weather a heat wave, because that's how I prefer to take a lot of screenshots, it just looks really nice. Yeah, there was like no time of day where it looked nice to me. So I flipped the house, which doesn't really matter because when you go ahead and download this lot from the gallery, I did flip it back, so it shouldn't be an issue, but I figured I would note it just because you may have noticed it, and I liked the house oriented this way, so that's how I built it. But we are working on the landscaping, and again, because the house took up a majority of this lot, there was really just a lot of landscaping to do and not too much else to put outside. I did leave space for a little side yard because in this world, with the way, well, actually not the way, kind of like the way that these lots are oriented, they're all horizontal lots. And it's very odd to me. I think horizontal, I think that's the word I'm looking for. Don't judge me, but they're all just very like long lots. They're not, I don't know, there aren't any like square lots really. It's just very odd to me. This world has some very odd shaped lots and they're all like very long. And therefore, I have been making a lot of side yards because when you build a house and you try to give it a little bit more depth, it takes up a majority of the lot. Like you just can't build it. And I want to build lots that are appropriately oriented for the lot that I am building on. So I didn't want to put this at a different angle because it would just kind of look funny when you downloaded it. And maybe I'm rambling here. Hopefully you all understand, but I'm trying to ramble through the landscaping because it's pretty basic. I did use a fair amount of plants from the Get Together debug menu, which I always do, but I also matched it with a ton of different flowers and stuff from the base game debug menu. So it was primarily base game and Get Together for the landscaping. Not that that matters, but I like when I can kind of stick to maybe a few packs for landscaping. It doesn't matter because this house itself is not pack restricted, so I don't even know why I'm mentioning it, but we are inside finally, and we are working on the floor plan. Now, I will say this floor plan was really hard. It genuinely was really difficult. I was trying to make it a little bit different. I knew there were going to be some bedrooms on the first floor just because it was such a big house. There had to be something else aside from, you know, a living room and a kitchen and a dining room and stuff like that. But yeah, I ended up making it work. And the first room that we do work on is the living room. And I knew that I wanted to go kind of contemporary, not super duper contemporary, but I was trying to go contemporary with this dream home decorator couch and whatnot. But I ended up swapping it out for the cats and dogs one because I felt like I hadn't used it in a while. I could be incorrect, but I felt like I hadn't used it in a little while and I wanted to use it really badly. I thought it would fit really nicely. I thought that this blue would match really nicely with a lot of the things that we got with Growing Together. And I knew I wanted to have a mismatch of different wood tones, but I really primarily wanted to use the orangey wood tones, which again, we got a lot of with Growing Together and we have a lot of with other packs. So it worked really, really nicely. And what else was I going to say about the first floor? Oh. So there is a big full bathroom on the first floor. I think there's 2 full bathrooms, but there's one that's like really large. And I did not film that one. I don't think I actually show you all any of the bathrooms being furnished because they were all very, very similar. But I spent a lot of time on that really big one. And this was going to be like a 45-minute build if I had kept all of that in. So I did not keep it all in, but there are 2 bathrooms on the first floor. And I believe there are 2 or 3 upstairs on the second floor. So there's plenty of bathrooms for 8 Sims to be in this house. And I did go back and add toddler potties because I didn't really know the dynamic that I wanted for the family when I was first furnishing things. So I didn't add toddler potties downstairs at first, but I do it a little bit later on. And I also don't think that I filmed the like hallways, and there's kind of like a little back entryway off to the porch, I believe. Yeah, because there's a porch in the back. And I didn't film that. There's just like a little seating area and like a side table. I didn't have to film it. There's also some activities out on that porch, which I did not film either. I think there's some vertical planters, there's a chess table, flower arranging station, just a few different activities for your Sims to take part in. And I was thinking, though it doesn't have to be this way, but I was thinking that those were primarily for the grandparents that do live here. But you can see that the living room is coming together. I really love these side tables that we got with Growing Together. I didn't discover them until my like 2nd or 3rd build with that pack, so I was really happy to use them here. I really love them. I love how low they are, and I like how small they are because we have a lot of huge end tables and console tables in The Sims 4, and these side tables are very small and you can squeeze them into tiny spaces, and I really like that. And then we move on to the kitchen, which I also struggled with, but I did keep, I think, most attempts. At least my first attempt. I think I kept it in this build just so you all could kind of see that things do not come together perfectly every single time. It may seem that way, but this was maybe like an hour-long struggle just to find the look that I was going for, kind of the mesh of looks, because you can tell that the living room is slightly contemporary, but there's also just this traditional cozy feeling to it as well. And I wanted to bring that into the kitchen, and I wanted there to be an informal dining space that had that contemporary feel. So I tried to use these chairs from Growing Together, but I did not like them. I didn't like them in this setting. I probably could have used them maybe in the formal dining room and it still would have worked, but I didn't like it in this setting at all. And then I was playing around with the cottage living dining chairs, trying to see if I should use a different tile for the kitchen. And it was starting to look less contemporary and far more traditional and cozy. And I just needed to strike a balance. I just didn't know how to do it. So I keep this layout of the kitchen, and the formal or informal, the informal dining table does stay, but I decided to kind of distract myself by trying to figure out the curtain situation and where all the other appliances were going to be laid out, because that was kind of something I was worried about. I thought that the dining table and the chairs were going to block your Sims' access to all these things, and they did not, which was thrilling. I want to say it was when we got the tiny living stuff pack. I think the update that accompanied that pack actually allowed your Sims to route around things a lot easier. I think you need like a quarter tile's worth of space to get around certain objects. I noticed an improvement with that because with tiny living, everything was so small and your Sims had to route around different spaces that were just so congested. So I want to say that that was a thing that happened. But yeah, I did play test this build as I do with all my builds, and it worked perfectly fine in the kitchen. So I was really happy about that. And I'm just plucking out a ton of clutter that I wanted to put in this kitchen because I actually had plenty of counter space to do that, which I don't always give myself. And I was a bit on edge about this kitchen too, because it felt like it was really small for the size of the build. Do you know what I mean? The last really large house that I did in San Sequoia had a really big kitchen that was fairly open. I think there was an archway, but it was fairly open to the informal dining as well as the living space. And those spaces just seem so big. I think this just seems smaller because it's so closed off. But for the house, it seems small, but I kind of had to just get over it because I really like the kitchen, and the dining room itself is pretty much the centerpiece of the home, I guess. That's what I'll call it. I don't know if that's the saying, but I'm just going to go with it because I can't correct myself at this point. But the dining room is pretty big and it's really, really nice. So I kind of balanced it out in my head being like, well, okay, the kitchen, there's a lot of counter space and there's a lot of room to make meals and everything. It's a little bit cramped with the informal dining, but it gives the family an opportunity to sit somewhere that isn't the formal dining room for just like breakfast or coffee, or for the kids to sit down here and do their homework or whatever the case is. And this is when I decided to off camera change up some of the elements in the kitchen, which you will see in the screenshots. I basically changed out the dining chairs and the tile just to kind of tone things down a little tiny bit. There were a lot of patterns and colors that were really overwhelming to me, so I toned it back a bit. I think I used chairs from, I want to say it was still Dream Home Decorator, not the same ones in the dining room that I'm using now, but yeah, this is going to be the dining room. It is right off of the entryway, which I think is so pretty because I was able to use this beautiful archway that we got with Growing Together. And I did use this overhead light from Growing Together as well. How many times can I say that in a build? And I kind of made my own fixture because I sized them down a few different times and made it look like a cluster of a chandelier kind of thing. I liked it. I don't know if you guys are going to like it, but I liked it a lot. And then I just added an armchair, and then I think I add like a mirror somewhere. I also used these picture frames that we got with the new pack that I really love. They're great space fillers on walls. I really, really like them. I'm so happy we got something like that. And then I put this little corner shelf from Cats and Dogs because, well, the wood tones were what I was looking for. And then I added a china cabinet over here too from Get Together, I believe, which I did size up ever so slightly with the tool mod. And I just needed to fill the space, but I wanted this room to be very, very open, and there's a lot of light that pours in from the window in the front. And I kept it fairly minimally decorated, I would say, at least for me, because I clutter the heck out of things. But I did have this console table with a few different clutter items atop it. Ooh, who do I think I am? Atop it? What? It's one of those days. I don't even know where that came from. You can make fun of me all you want. Anyway, we're working on the teen room. I was going to try to get a little bit crafty with this accent wall with like paint splatter and stuff, but I ended up not really liking it. It wasn't the vibe I was going for. And once I chose this bed, I kind of knew what I was going to do. So this is for a teen, as I mentioned, and this teen is very much into fashion. They really love doing their makeup, as in they might aspire to be like a beauty influencer at some point, but they also have a backup plan of like being an artist because I gave them an easel. I just think they're a very creative human being and they have a lot of things I think that represent that in their room as well. And I did go with a very like yellow, pastel blue, and pink color scheme, which isn't really my jam. Like these aren't my colors, but I thought it turned out really nicely. I even used some of the little cube things, like this thing right here from high school years. I haven't used it a lot. It's modular. Yeah, it's fairly modular. Some things connect and some things don't. It's a little bit weird, but it's modular and I really liked it. I did put it in the corner over here just to try to make this room a little bit different from my typical bedrooms. I gave them this standing wardrobe and there's like a plant in the corner of the room because of course there is. And then they also have a desk with, I believe, the little tablet from the, what's it called? The Pastel Pop Kit. There we go. And I also used an open wardrobe. I think that's what it's considered. I think it's technically a shelf, but it's one of the shelves where you can clip the hanging clothes wardrobe from either high school years or Dream Home Decorator on. So it's really nice. I was kind of thinking that it was this teens like capsule wardrobe where they just have a bunch of pieces that they can swap out for one another and create a bunch of different outfits. And maybe they lay it out depending on the season. So as I'm building in The Sims, I think it's summer. So let's just imagine that they pluck out all of their like summer staples and their shoes and everything, and they put them on this little wardrobe for display, and that way they can like grab things and just mix and match as they're getting ready for the day. I just love that idea. It's something that I'm striving to do with my own wardrobe. Granted, I work from home, so I don't have to worry about it too much, but it would be nice to just have things to like grab and go, mix and match, you know, for a certain season. I aspire to have that level of like organization and coordination in my wardrobe, which I do not have right now. But I also put this mirror kind of in this little space in that wardrobe. I thought it worked really nicely. My sim was able to use it, so hopefully it works okay for you. But I thought it looked okay and it kind of made sense, and I wanted them to have a full-length mirror in their room as well. And then this is going to be the little desk area. They do have this, is it Andy Warhol inspired? I believe it is. This like llama painting collage thing. And then I give them a calendar. They've got a few things on their desk. And I love that tablet from the Pastel Pop Kit. I think that is so cute. I almost wish, no, actually I do wish, I don't almost wish, I do 100% wish that it could be a computer or a tablet. Do you know what I mean? I wish that your sim could actually take it, just the tablet, and put it in their inventory and then like go sit on the couch and use it. Do you know what I mean? Without the keyboard. I think that would be so cool. I know that would be a level of functionality we don't have with basically anything in The Sims, but I thought it was a neat idea. And that's pretty much that bedroom. And then we move on to the grandparents' bedroom, which is what I was thinking since I was making this for a family with 3 generations under one roof. But you could of course turn it into a guest room. You could turn it into whatever you would like if you'd like it to be something else. But I tried to maintain that blue theme and kind of like the orangey wood tones in this room as well, since I'm thinking that the grandparents moved in around the time that they bought this house, but maybe they kind of ditched all of their old furniture and they just allowed, I mean, they're moving in with their kid and their spouse and like their grandchildren and everything, but I think they just said, you know what, furnish it to match the house. We don't care what it looks like, we'll make do. So they did that just in case, you know, they ended up not moving in, or eventually when the grandparents pass, you know, it would still be a nice matching guest room. That's my thought. I don't know. That's kind of a sad thought, but it's a thought. I mean, it's functional, it works. It could be a guest bedroom at some point. So they've got like a ton of clutter on top of their wardrobe, just some like puzzles. They've got the little keepsake box because I keep forgetting that we got that with growing together. And then there's just an armchair. We've got a what's it called? A bookcase. I was going to call a dresser, but there is a dresser. There's the bookcase. And then I think I put like a knitting basket and stuff. I mean, very stereotypical grandparent stuff. I know. But I thought it was cute and I loved the idea. They also have a guitar because I wanted to add a few different things there. And because I was thinking of that computer being an actual tablet, I did give that teen sim the little like sketch pad tablet thing as well. So we can pretend that they take their tablet and take it with them. Do you know what I mean? And now we are up to the second floor, and this floor plan was very difficult. I had to play with it off camera a lot because I really wanted to maximize the space, and I wanted to do a bit of an open staircase thing, and I was able to do it. What typically prevents me from doing that is the roofing. And the roofing here worked in my favor somehow, so I have a little bit of an open staircase, which I thought was really nice in a house that was this big. I think it kind of called for it. So I was really excited to be able to do that. And again, I was able to get Actually, two bathrooms. There's 2 bathrooms up here, 2 full ones. And there's also an office space and then 3 other bedrooms. And the first bedroom that we work on is the parents' room, which has a very pink theme. I don't know why. I just loved this bed. And I think it was the wood tone that I was kind of gravitating towards. I think that's what did it. And then I knew that we had this little bay window seat thing from Cats and Dogs that would match really, really well. So that's what I ended up doing. I used that one there. Isn't it perfect? I love it so much. I don't get to use it a lot, and the swatches don't always match the color scheme that I have for a house. So I was really stoked that this primary bedroom came together so nicely. It was not what I was originally envisioning, but I really liked it. I also gave them a built-in wardrobe here. They've got that beautiful mirror from Growing Together. There's a vanity because I was able to squeeze that in there. And then I just add more picture frames because why the heck wouldn't I? And I think like a couple of hampers over there, at least faux hampers. I didn't add laundry in this build. And then a plant in the corner, and everything worked great. I think my sim did have to use the scoot feature to get to the left side of the bed, but if that's not a problem, it'll work great for you. If it is a problem, you might have to get rid of the hampers, I think. I think the hampers were the culprit, not the plant. Yeah, I think that's what I ended up testing out. You may have to retest it. I apologize. I do my best. I really do. I try really hard to play test things, but it doesn't always work out, so have some grace, pretty please. But anyway, the primary bedroom has pretty much come together at this point. I really liked it. It was soft, it was welcoming. And then we move on to the toddler room, which I was originally thinking maybe an infant and a toddler, but I realized I hadn't used the new toddler bed from Base Game. And I was gonna go with this dinosaur theme. You can see it starting to kind of take shape, but I was very confused by this. This is not my first time realizing this, but we have a lot of dinosaur themed stuff with Base Game, but it's like bright orange, or is it green and blue, I think? Yeah, I think it's like greens and blues. So it was challenging to match the wallpaper that I wanted to use because it was like this neutral kind of like yellowy brown, and I wanted the room to be fairly neutral, and I really couldn't achieve that with the dinosaur theme that I wanted. So I ended up plucking out this rug from Outdoor Retreat and being like, okay, outdoorsy theme it is, let's do it. And I chose this darker brown paint instead for the room, and I really liked it. Now I did add a changing table here. I don't believe, I could be completely wrong because I haven't tested this out for myself. I don't think that you can use the changing table with toddlers. But that at the same time wouldn't make sense to me. Let me know in the comments down below. I don't want to make that claim because I haven't tested it yet. I've been playing with all the new items like the changing table and everything for infants in my Growing Together LP, and we are not even close to having a toddler in the house. So therefore, I haven't been able to test that out yet. But let me know. I don't know if you can actually use the changing table with them. If you can, this is very useful. And if you can't, just get rid of it unless you like it for show. Or add a crib and you could just have an infant in here as well. I mean, again, you can do whatever the heck you want with this build, but I really liked this room. I didn't add too many wall decorations, but I still wanted it to look decorated enough and kind of have that subtle outdoor theme. So we've got, what's it called? Granite Falls. We've got like that Granite Falls mascot painting there. We've got these rugs. I've got the little like moon wall decal from the Werewolves game pack, which I thought was so cute. And this little decal we got with the new expansion, the tree with like the little owls in it. I've got the pop-up book from the, what's it called? Oh no, what's it called? That kit. The little campers kit. There we go. And it's got, you know, like the Bigfoot. We've got a Bigfoot stuffy here and everything too. So it's kind of a subtle theme, but I liked the darker tones from the darker colors like in the rug and the wallpaper and stuff compared to the orangey wood tones. I really liked how it popped, and I thought it was a cute room. It was kind of a unique room for me, I think. I'm trying to branch out a little bit more. Can you tell? I'm trying. And now this is going to be the second teenager's room. So my thought was that the teenagers are actually twins. Now I am feeding into this like opposite twins stereotype, but sometimes it's fun to do. So this teen is very much into sports, and I was trying to tie in the colors of this bedding into the wallpaper, but it was a little bit overwhelming. So I ended up going with just the wallpapers that I had been using throughout pretty much the entire home, and then just used a lot of posters and other decorations to tie in those colors because it was a little bit much for me, but there's still a lot of pinks, there's some purples, there's some blacks. I wanted to tie in as much as I could from the comforter, and it's a very odd shaped room, but I do like the layout that I ended up going with. It was a weird one because the bed was kind of sticking out past the wall, which I don't normally like at all. I often refuse to do that. There are some times that I have done it, but I typically refuse to do that. And I just added a ton of posters. I added this little dresser from the Tiny Living Stuff Pack, and I added a few of these string lights, which I thought were growing together. That's why I was going through the menu repeatedly, like every decoration menu I could, but they were added to base game with the infant update, so I completely spaced on that. So I added them around the bed because I thought that was kind of a cute little detail, and I tried to like push together a bunch of posters, make it really decorated. I ended up using the rug from, I believe, High School Years. I tried using some others, but the one from High School Years worked really nicely. And then they've got a bookcase. They also have a desk because I thought it would be unfair for the teen downstairs to have one and the teen upstairs not to have one. So they have a desk and just a regular laptop. I did give them a football and a soccer ball. They've got like this gaming headset. I just think they have completely opposite interests from their sibling downstairs. And I just wanted to represent that in their room a little bit. Like, they're very much into fitness because I also gave them a punching bag, which I did play test, and they could use it just fine, even though this room is a bit small, and you're probably wondering, like, where the heck did you put it? I put it on the opposite wall from the bed, and it worked great, which I was really happy about because I know that they take, like, the grid, it takes up a lot more space, but it worked perfectly. They also have another faux hamper here. They have a mirror on the wall, and then I put, I think, a box with, like, brand new sneakers on top of the dresser, and I think a box of makeup as well. I don't know, I was just trying to think of different things to add here that made it personalized but still somewhat general, because even though teens are of course defining their likes and dislikes, exploring hobbies and all that fun stuff, they are still finding themselves. So having a ton of different interests is completely normal, and I wanted to just represent that in the decorations that I chose for this teen. But I really liked their room as well. And then what we end up doing is we end up moving on to the office space, which is this room right here. And now the more I think about it, this probably should have been the teen's room because it does have a bathroom off of it. It would have just made more sense. It also could have made sense for it to be the parents' room, but I wasn't really thinking through it. I was just kind of going with the vibe, and I was kind of just going with the creativity as it was flowing. But this does end up being a home office. There is a computer in here. I used this console table and decorated it ever so slightly just to kind of fill in that gap and ensure that when your sim is at the computer, they could like look outside the windows, out into the water, by the way, with the way that I oriented this lot. Highly recommend flipping the lot when you download it because I think it looks nicer. Totally up to you though. And I was gonna try to use these bookshelves from Dream Home Decorator, but they're a little bit too short for me, actually. They didn't really look proportional in this room for me, so I ended up ditching them. I did keep the chess table though. I thought that was a nice addition to a home office. And I think I just used the bookshelves from, the new expansion. I ditched one of them, and then I do put like an armchair near the door, but the office itself is pretty scarcely decorated. I didn't want it to be overcluttered. I couldn't really add a ton of activities. I probably could have added maybe a toddler activity or two since there are 2 toddlers here, but I didn't even think about it, completely spaced on it. I don't know why. I think it's because I was really, really determined to finish this build. I was really determined, and I draw blanks when I start doing home offices unless there's a specific job that I'm envisioning for the sim. Does that make sense? You know, if there was a sim that's like they were a writer or a journalist or a graphic designer, I could pluck a ton of different decorations and really theme the office. But when it's just a general home office, like I didn't know what to add. I was at a complete loss. And now we are on to the side yard, which I am just carrying the landscaping through the back of the build and the side yard. And what I do is I just add an unfinished and unbuilt treehouse. Yes, an unbuilt one. Because in my last build, I had my playtest sim build the entire thing, and then I asked, would you all prefer to have it unbuilt or completely built? And a majority of people said unbuilt, so their sims could go ahead and do it. And therefore, that's what I did. So it is completely unbuilt. It looks a little bit odd when it's just 2 trees and a crate of wood, but you know what? We're just gonna go with it. And I'm trying to work with the terrain paint here. I was trying to make the cobblestone here kind of blend blend away into the lawn area, which I did a really bad job of doing, as you can see, my first attempt. But out here, there is also a grill, there's an outdoor dining table, and just a toddler slide. You could add any other activities that you would like, but I just didn't feel I had the space for too many. I didn't want to build like a whole playground because there are 2 teens in this build as well, or in this family as I was envisioning it. And it really wasn't that big of a yard. This treehouse is freaking huge. It takes up a lot of space, and sometimes it's difficult to work around that, but I will pretty much leave you all here. I am just wrapping up a few more details, but I hope you all enjoyed this build. I haven't done a voiceover in like 2 weeks at the time of me recording this, so I feel very out of practice. Hopefully it wasn't too rambly, but it seemed like it was. Anyway, hope you all enjoyed it. I cannot wait to hear your thoughts, and I will catch you next time I post a video, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.
In the morning, when you walk away, my heart drops to the floor. They said it would get easier, but I don't know who for. Days move faster now, I swear, I can feel them slip away. But some things last forever, the love that never fades. It's easy to make promises for the young and free, but you kept every word you said, and you stayed true to me. We lean into the great beyond, there's more love yet to make. 'Cause some things last forever, but love that never fades. He left her slowly as his mind lost more every day. Quietly she walked beside and tended in her way. Now the bed he built for 2 is cold, but her memories have stayed. Because some things last forever, the love that never fades. Dishes and tears, I'm standing here. I know it sounds cliche. A blanket of this history covers me today. In between